The Patton Report is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to the Patton Report. Today we're going to spend time with one of Rockstar's most fascinating projects, The Warriors, a licensed game that defied expectations and built something mythic out of cult cinema. But before we head back to 1979 New York through a 2005 PlayStation 2 lens, let's talk about 2026 because this year has already been wild. Starting with the obvious one, Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed again. Rockstar says it's about polish, refinement, delivering something that meets expectations. But the larger issue, expectations may now be too big for any game to realistically meet. Though we have to have faith in Rockstar because if one company, development company, is going to be able to do it, they would be the ones, and they've proven it time and time again. There's very few games that they've put out that have flopped. In Grand Theft Auto 6, it's not just a sequel. It's a cultural event, a financial engine, a pressure cooker. And when you delay something like that in 2026, 2025, and 2024, you're not just adjusting a launch window, you're adjusting the emotional economy of the entire industry, which is interesting because the Rockstar we're talking about today didn't always operate under that level of scrutiny, but more on that later. GameStop is in the news. Recently, they had to shut down what people were calling an infinite money trade-in glitch. PC Magazine reported there was a loophole that reportedly allowed customers to manipulate trade-in promotions in a way that generated more store credit than the cost of the console itself. In other words, digital age at a physical retail scale. It was quickly fixed, but essentially what would happen is you could go in and buy a Nintendo Switch 2. And then if you traded it in with a qualifying pre-owned game, you actually got more money back. I think it was like $419 was the cost, but the trade-in value was like $479. So you could continue that process, basically creating this glitch, exposing their system. It's fascinating because we're in this moment where retailers are fragile as far as video games go, and the margins are very thin. And something like this, it obviously blew up overnight. GameStop once was kind of the center of mall and gaming culture, is now an ecosystem of constantly trying to adapt with everything that's being thrown at them, to the point where when I think of GameStop right now, I think of places people stand outside to try to buy Pokémons to scalp. We trying to buy some Pokemon cards so that we could sell them online and make, an extra $20 off the box or whatever. It's kind of crazy, the hoarding of Pokemon cards, which leads us to our next article. This article by Tom Phillips from IGN reported last month, New York Pokemon card store, the Pokécourt, was the focus of media attention following a frightening armed burglary that involved its staff and customers being held at gunpoint. The incident prompted widespread panic and shock and sympathy for the fledgling outlet, which lost $100,000 worth of stock in minutes. But now the business has said the famously litigious Nintendo has been in touch, not to offer aid, however, but to share concerns over the name and its logo. The Pokécourt is now being forced to rebrand, with its storefront, social accounts, and the online site all being rebranded to the Trainer Court over the coming days. The previous design featured a stylized Pokeball logo that is now being replaced by a simple C colored in green. In a statement posted to Instagram, the newly retitled Trainer Court thanked fans for the support amidst the robbery and beyond, but said it is now having to change its name and logo due to a complaint from Nintendo. The short story is Nintendo reached out to us with concerns about our name and logo, the Trainer Court wrote. This means we're evolving. Same team, same ridiculous hit rate, and soon even greater things are coming your way. The post has already gained plenty of further support from the outlet, with more than 2,000 likes at the time of writing, and a comment praising the business from Sarah Nakatni, the voice actress who previously voiced Ash Ketchum in the Pokemon animated TV series. Numerous stores selling Pokemon cards have been hit by robberies over the past year, including locations in Boston, Los Angeles, Seattle. In December, $100,000 worth of stock was swiped from a store in Burbank, an incident that Californian cops suspected was linked to a half a dozen similar thefts within the southern half of the state. Separately, IGN has reported on numerous other examples that have occurred nationwide over the past 12 months. With the 30th anniversary of Pokemon right around the corner, this isn't necessarily news. You would think that Game Freak and Nintendo would want out there the negative press of kind of going after a small trading card shop over branding. Not surprising based on Nintendo. Nintendo going after kind of anyone that they feel is a threat to, I don't know, making profit off art, I guess. Even though the whole situation is them selling Game Freaks' trading card product and IP and helping build that thing even further for these small card shops. It's kind of weird that they're going after them. But another problem is like these robberies are on the backs of the Pokemon trading card craze and the high collectability of these things. As a kid who grew up with baseball cards in the 90s and what eventually became the junk wax era, I know there's a fine line of, the amount of hits you put out, what these cards can be worth, the way you handle the marketplace. And it's almost to the point now, though, that the rarity of these cards in the collector's market has gotten so crazy. When you start seeing, card store robberies, that's not something we've heard about in a really long time. It seems like the past 2 years it's became more of a problem. And that on top of just, let's see, scalpers, people standing in line for hours and hours and hours, and buying up everything in stock, fighting each other in the middle of stores for Pokemon cards. It's kind of disgusting. I understand it. Like I said, as a card collector, I get wanting to collect these things and then paying a higher market value, but it has brought in a different kind of buyer, and sometimes not buyer, sometimes actual thief, to the market because of how popular the hobby is. And at some point, Nintendo, Game Freak, and I don't think Wizards of the Coast create the cards anymore. I don't know. I'm not a Pokemon card collector, so I can't speak on that. But they need to put out some sort of statement or come out and try to get this settled down. I don't even know what they would really do, but it isn't something very nice as far as what, Pokemon, something I love. And like I said, we're right around the corner. Next week is Pokemon Day, which we'll be talking about the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. And this is where we're at with it. It's just sad on a lot of different levels that people don't have better things to do than rob card stores or, buy up trading cards that are meant for children. And in some ways, it's kind of ruined the trading card game for a lot of people. Like, it's so hard to get your hands on product. Like, if you're a kid who wanted to get into this card game without just going and buying a used deck from someone, you're kind of, up shit's creek, for lack of a better term. We will see what comes out of Pokemon Day. I doubt it'll have anything to do with this, and I doubt that it will help any of this, but at least we'll get some announcements on new Pokemon games as far as video games go, which is the way I like to consume my Pokemon. In other news, IGN also ran a piece about AI and its consumption of hard drives, which I had read a couple of articles about. It seems like Western Digital has already sold through what would normally be their stock for the entirety of the year, mostly through AI companies buying up the drives. The gist of the article is basically AI development and training are consuming massive storage resources, creating a strain on traditional hard drive production and supply. Why this matters when we're talking about gaming is because everything in gaming is becoming larger as well. So, for instance, Grand Theft Auto 6, when that drops, I wouldn't be surprised if that's 120, 130 gigs at the very least. You get larger install sizes, day one patches, live service assets, cloud integration, and when the AI infrastructure competes for storage and manufacturing capacity, it affects hardware ecosystems. So the modern gaming world isn't just about the developers, it's kind of about data scale. And you're seeing a weird shift of these games, and this could be potentially why, Grand Theft Auto 5 has been such the monster it has been, because people have just stuck with one game. You live in a world where if you have Fortnite installed and say Apex Legends, you're at 300 gigs basically on a hard drive, which I know in the past storage was not that expensive, but this seems to be, an ongoing trend. And you kind of see this with Xbox and Game Pass and moving towards streaming, or trying to move towards streaming. So at the end of the day, you're working off these Azure servers and AWS servers that'll be hosting this crap, and you'll just be streaming it from those servers. But the issue with that is not every consumer is going to have fiber internet or great internet connectivity to stream these games, which puts you in the situation where a physical console or good gaming PC is just costing more and more and more with the increase of RAM and, now storage space as well. So it's just becoming more and more difficult for someone to say, I don't know, maybe build a gaming PC or try to get into PC gaming. And, even things like the Steam Deck or the new Xbox handheld that's coming out, those aren't the same entry cost. Like going back to something like the Nintendo Switch 2, for instance, which is sitting at like $419. That's a very cheap entry for what consoles are going to be costing here in the near future, I have a feeling. And that, some of that's inflation, but also it is definitely going to be everything PC wise is just going to gear up with the more and more of the reliance of AI. And there's other things that you could dig into with that. I think there's benefits of AI, but there's also this downside for gaming, but also what it does to the environment and the amount of resources. If you're having people like Western Digital come out and say, we're pretty much, all of our stock is pretty much accounted for, it's gone, that means that they'll have to create more. That creates a, it's more taxing on the environment, but that's a whole different story and not related to gaming. But maybe we'll get into it at some point one day down the future. Speaking of Game Pass, we do have some upcoming releases coming out on Game Pass, some day one things, some early access games, and some former big, AAA titles. February 2026's Wave 2 lineup includes big hitters such as The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, the Complete Edition, plus Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And as of February 17th, available games are Aerial Knights Dropshot, which is on cloud, Xbox Series XS, handheld, and PC, as well as Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, something that we've been talking about on Bachman's Basement, as my co-host has been playing that over there, on cloud, Xbox Series XS, handheld, and PC, for the PC and Ultimate subscribers. And then premium members also gain access to Avowed on cloud, Xbox Series XS, and that'd be hilarious, PC. Coming later this week is Death Howl, as well as EA Sports College Football 26. So some big games. Obviously, the college football season's over, and that's when these games usually launch for EA. A cool game that I've actually played a little bit of is TCG Card Shop Simulator. That's if you want to run your own card shop, going back to Pokemon cards, it's kind of that. And it's a simulation game where you kind of build out your own card store and have live gameplay as far as inviting people in to come play the trading card games that you sell, as well as there's a little bit of gambling where you can open packs and see if you can make money that way by reselling what you open. And a day later, Dice A Million launches on PC for PC and Ultimate subscribers. It's I have not played that game, so I can't say much about it. And then Final Fantasy III is also coming out. That's coming out on March 3rd. So some games to look forward to there if you're a Game Pass subscriber. I don't have much for PlayStation. I know that they have some stuff out there. I just didn't gather anything for this episode, unfortunately, so my apologies to people who play on PlayStation. That takes us into our main feature, The Warriors. The original Warriors, directed by Walter Hill and based on the novel by Sol Uric. Wasn't realism, it's urban mythology. New York wasn't a city, it was a battlefield of tribes. The film sparked controversy upon release, media panic, and reports of violence in theaters, but over time, it became a cult artifact not because of chaos, but because of identity. You didn't just watch the Warriors, you picked a side. By 2005, Rockstar Games had already reshaped the medium with Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Rockstar didn't just build sandboxes, they built worlds with texture. So when they acquired the rights to the Warriors, they didn't approach it like a cash-in. They approached it like myth expansion. Released in 2005 for PS2 and Xbox, developed primarily by Rockstar Toronto, the Warriors expanded the film's universe. It did something very rare in this kind of game, based on an IP, a film IP, I should say, or a TV IP. It built a prequel before retelling the movie. You didn't just play the subway escape, you experienced how the Warriors formed, how they rose, how they earned reputation. Mechanically, it had a very deep melee combat system, environmental weapon usage, turf wars, graffiti tagging, muggy systems, and co-op play. It wasn't shallow. It was a very deep game with some weird systems in it, honestly, as far as like redirecting your gang, stealing radios, the fighting combat system, all of the different things you could do. And Rockstar treated the tone very seriously. It matches up with the movie perfectly. Dirty subways, dim lighting, New York in the 70s, a very oppressive atmosphere, very haunting overall with the radio, DJ cutscenes, and everything that they were able to take away from the movie itself. The original actors also returned. We had Michael Beck, who played Swan, James Remar as Ajax, and David Patrick Kelly as Luther. That authenticity to the voice acting elevated the experience. Even within the PS2 graphical limits, the performances grounded it. Luther didn't feel like nostalgia. He felt present within the game itself. The reviews for the game were very strong. Upon release, it was praised for its atmosphere, combat, and fidelity to the source material itself, as well as being criticized for repetition, camera quirks, but it wasn't dismissed, it was respected, and that's rare for licensed games. Both the film and the game existed during moral panic cycles. The 1979 film was blamed for violence. Early 2000s, Rockstar games were blamed for societal decay and violence, yet both were stylized morality plays, not realism, ritual, or tribal conflict as myth. And Rockstar understood that tone. They didn't modernize it, they honored it, they paid tribute to the source material. The Warriors remains one of the best licensed games ever made. I will stand on that hill and die on that hill. It's never received a remaster, it's never gotten a sequel, but it stands as proof that licensed properties can become art when handled with respect. And I would love to see this game get a remake or a remaster. Unfortunately, some of the voice actors I don't believe are with us anymore. Maybe they could pull that audio from the previous game if it wasn't compressed to hell, which could be the case on PlayStation 2. And in 2026, an era of delays, subscription models, hardware strange, in corporate oversight, there's something refreshing about looking back at a time where Rockstar, experimented boldly, quietly, and deliberately, and would put out something like this, because there's not many other companies that would. Yeah. It's a lovely game. I've been playing through it. I am on Chapter 4. You will be seeing some of that gameplay if you're watching the video version of this podcast. The Warriors, while it wasn't Rockstar's biggest title, it may have been one of the most focused, a bridge between cinema and interactivity. And, one you should definitely check out if you've never played it before. This has been the Patton Report. Tell me your favorite gang. Tell me your favorite mission. Until next time, can you dig it?